and Caveman here.
Hello.
We wanted to come on here and kind of, I don't know, go over our trip a little bit with our friends and followers.
We've gotten a few questions here and there, and we decided to do the whole Q&A.
Yeah, we posted a couple days ago if you guys had any questions. So we wrote them all down and are going. First, we kind of wanted to explain what we did this summer. Basically,
Spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah, I guess it was 6.5 months, huh? So if you don't know, Caveman and I basically walked from Mexico to Canada this spring, summer, and fall.
Started in March, didn't end until about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. But yeah, we thru-hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. And for those of you that do not know, it is a long-distance hiking and basically walking trail. It's equestrian, too. You can ride a horse on it. But it basically goes from Mexico to Canada through California, Oregon, and Washington. It is 2,600 miles long. What else?
2650.
2653.1 if you're getting specific. Yeah. Well, a little bit longer this year because Canada's closed.
Yeah, we ended up having to go to the border and then turn around because the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, we couldn't get into Canada, which kind of sucked because in spring, when we were applying for our permits and everything, we got our Canada entry permits, and we were really excited that we were going to be able to actually hike into Canada and spend a night there after hiking from Mexico. But sadly, with the coronavirus, we weren't able to go to Canada. So we did have to turn around and hike 31 miles back to Hart's Pass, but yeah. So
anyways,
2,600 miles long.
This is our second through hike. The first one was the Appalachian Trail in 2018. That one was shorter, took us 6 months. It was 22.
Yeah, 2,200 miles.
2,200 miles. I guess we're gonna start with the questions.
We have our friend Brian here helping us, holding some papers, so if we're looking in this direction, that's basically what we're doing. We wrote down some questions that were given to us a couple days ago, and so we have a couple. Let's go to the other page.
All right. Yeah, that one's basic enough. We'll start with a couple of Heather's questions.
Yeah.
One we get asked all the time is, how many pairs of shoes do you go through on the hike? And I think this hike I went through 3 pairs of shoes. The third one I kind of pushed it. The sides were ripped apart. There was no tread on it.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. Getting every bit of rock and dust and dirt inside of my shoe as walking.
I think I had about 4 different pairs of shoes. I started with a pair of shoes. I didn't like them. They were Hokas? They had a really big platform, and I felt like I had clown shoes on and couldn't feel anything. So when we got to Weeville Market, I was able to get a pair out of the hiker box. A hiker box, if anybody doesn't know, is basically a communal give and take box, kind of like a lost and found, but
it's a gear and food box. If you happen to have extra gear that you don't like or you don't need anymore, you leave it in the box for whoever might want it. And the same thing with food. If you happen to get to a place and you have extra food or something you're just so tired of eating, you leave behind for someone else to...
Or shoes.
Yeah, or shoes.
So I did get a pair of shoes there. I wore those all through the Sierras until we got to Mammoth. We went to an outfitter in Mammoth and they had a really good deal on shoes, and it was almost a no-brainer to just... I think the Ultras were like $70?
They were on sale.
They were on sale. It wasn't anything super cheap, but it was like, oh, my shoes are kind of falling apart. So we got shoes then, and then my last pair was back in August when I came home for a week because we thought we weren't going to be able to finish our hike, which is a whole nother subject. That's kind of crazy that happened this trip. But yeah, when I was home, I bought our last pairs of shoes, and that's what we wore to the end.
Yep. So from Crater Lake to the end.
Yep.
That's why they were holy.
Heather also asked, is hitchhiking scary? Hitchhiking. We hitchhiked a lot.
Well, it's not scary when you're with more than one person. I could definitely see if you were alone how it might be a little intimidating. But typically the people that pick you up, I mean, there's they're crazy as you are, so they're actually really nice. They typically take you into town. Sometimes they'll buy you a meal. Happens quite often. Or they'll, you try to give them a little tip for the ride, and they'll end up giving you money instead. Offer to buy your next meal, offer to buy you a drink at the next town.
But I think the bigger thing is the fact that hitchhiking in trail communities, it's a lot different than if we just, like, we wouldn't go out in our hometown and stick our thumb out and try and get a ride to, the grocery store.
In the smaller towns, it was a lot easier to get a ride because everyone in town knows the hitchhikers come because that's where their money come from.
They understand that we're hiking the Pacific Crest Trail and that we're out here. They understand what we're doing, so they want to support us as much as we can.
But when you're on like the highways and whatnot, where it's a lot of the tourists coming through and the locals don't really make it out there too much because you're about 25 miles out of town, it's a lot scarier standing, next to semis flying past you at 70 miles an hour with your thumb out hoping for a ride.
Sometimes you get lucky and you might be like outside of a pizza joint or a gas station where you can kind of like make conversation. But yeah, when you're just kind of on the side of the highway,
getting back to trail's a lot easier because you're in town and you can make conversation. Getting from the trail into town, not quite so easy.
Yeah.
We do have one comment. Aria says, "Hi guys, love your hair, Rebecca. Hope you both are adjusting well to being back."
Awesome.
That's the next question. Heather also asks, "How do you feel about work?" And Flip Flop here goes back to work tomorrow.
No, my time has come to an end.
I'm due to go back at the beginning of next week, and we're still kind of.
We're processing it.
Tossing around ideas of ways that we might not have to go back to conventional work.
Yeah, maybe mixing it up a little bit so that we can hang out and do things that we like, right? Yeah. It's kind of the goal.
Was, I think, another question of what was coming next. Do we have any plans for next? And we just saw this post about the DNR sharing interactive map of 4,600 miles here in Michigan.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, that's where we live.
Yep,
it's in Michigan. In the mitten.
So there's, 4,600 miles of trail here that they have, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be fun to try and knock all that out in 1 year?
Yeah.
So that would, be snowshoeing and...
Well, we did the math, right? So 40...
Yeah, it's about 13 miles a day with no days off.
With no days off, which, if anyone knows our pace, is pretty... I don't know, that's a lot of hiking. However... You have to remember that Michigan is a lot different than what we just did.
Yeah, it'd be a lot
Michigan
of flat
is pretty flat. It's not like
a lot of it would be day hiking, like a day in and out, or a weekend hiking. We do have the coast to coast, and there is another trail that goes from the UP all the way down to Detroit. So that would be the longest one where I'd be sleeping outside more often.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a traditional through hike, but it would be just, hey, let's hike all the trails in Michigan because this is where we're at.
But that would take us finding a couple sponsors, some local sponsors, and things along those lines. So still a bit more work and planning to go into that if we do end up going that route.
But hopefully we can stay kind of optimistic in our ways of income and can kind of branch out and try some new things instead of just going back into that old routine of work, and then just spontaneous trips that we do. But it's always fun. What else we got? Okay, so Michael asked, how scary are the Sierras and the drop-offs? Well, I would assume by drop-offs he's meaning, like, don't put your foot in the wrong spot or you'll slide into the icy lake and die in the frozen water.
There's that. And then there was, this rock slide happened, and now we have to climb on the outside of a rock using a rope with just a complete sheer drop. That was fun.
I did bring our mircospikes. So for those of you that don't know, these are kind of dirty.
Don't think about it on the table.
I'm just gonna show.
Back a little.
Okay. Show them what those are.
So basically, these just stretch out, fit over the bottom of your shoe. That way, you can kind of stab into the snow and ice, so you don't fall off of those drop-offs. They help on rock as well.
It's always good to have trekking poles, or
those are really dirty.
If it's necessary, an ice axe. But I mean,
this year.
This year there wasn't really any snow to justify an ice axe, other than purchasing a $100 souvenir.
Yep.
But I have one. Let's see. We were also asked if we encountered any grizzly bears.
Well, we didn't finish the Sierra
And you were done?
question.
Okay.
We had drop-offs, but then we also had the snow. The Sierras had not as much snow as normal. On a normal year, it would have been 300, 400 miles of just walking straight on snow all day long. We didn't have that, thankfully, this year, but it didn't make it any better.
Yeah.
Typically, they would have been, 300, 400 of walking on the snow early in the morning, snow still being hard. We had nice warm days, so we ended up postholing, which is basically walking on nice snow, nice even snow, and then on your third, fourth step, you go straight down to your knee, or even lower, and end up hurting yourself as a guy sometimes on the snow. But the snow is just so sharp that when you fall into the snow, it actually cuts the front of your legs up pretty bad.
Yeah, hiking in those types of conditions, you have to kind of wake up earlier when you know it's going to be firmer. You have to, carry different gear items like the mircospikes that we showed you. And I didn't know that those actually really existed, because being here in Michigan, I found like traction. Do you remember the other ones I had with the springs?
Yeah.
So there's there's different forms of those traction devices, but these were actual like spikes. And oh my gosh, I felt like sometimes I could like walk up the icy mountain or hill or whatever. It was pretty, I don't know, pretty cool.
Here in Michigan,
but,
we don't do too much ice trails, I guess, so we've never really used the mircospikes.
Yeah. Most of it is kind of rolling hills here. It's not...
Plus, we always have the lake effect snow, so it's always fresh snow to step in, so you don't really have ice that you're just going to slide right off the mountain on.
But, to answer the question, is it scary? There's a lot of hype behind it, especially when you're through hiking that, you get to Kennedy Meadows and the Sierras are going to be tough, and, the outfitters and stuff that, convince you that you need all this extra gear, and...
Crossing the rivers weren't that bad. Your feet are going to get wet. You're not going to always have a rock hop.
Yeah.
It's going to be cold when you get out the other side, so you'll have to warm your feet up.
Oh, Sealskinz?
Sealskinz socks are something that we use, basically waterproof socks.
I thought they were a gimmick. I really did. I thought they were a gimmick. Waterproof socks, why would that be nice? And we wear in gingies, so it was considering putting a third sock on our foot. We wear in gingies and then wool socks. And when we were in the Sierras, we put on our waterproof socks. And
gingies are liners. They're the toe socks that actually go underneath wool socks. They basically get your feet, keep your feet dry when you're, sweating. Everything else is sweating. Your feet actually stay dry, and you don't get a lot of blisters.
We love our gingies, but Sierras, sketchy. Yeah, but I try not to think about it too much.
As long as you don't have a storm coming through. Enjoy the weather, enjoy the scenery. You're not doing many miles through there anyways.
And it's a JMT. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got?
Ram Tekken asked, did we see any grizzly bears or cougars? And were we afraid of seeing one?
Yes, and well,
no. No, we didn't see any cougars. No grizzlies. We saw black bears.
Not a lot, though.
No, because you were never paying attention.
Well.
Every time we saw one, she walked past it, and I would look up from my days and see it right off trail to my right or my left, and I'd be scared.
But black bears, they're pretty different. On the Appalachian Trail, we saw, I think, 12. I think I counted 12 bears in the span of a week when we were in the Shenandoahs. But on this trail, we probably saw 5.
Yeah.
5 if that. But we're usually talking. Well, we don't always talk when we hike. Just like spook them off, but.
And then cougars, we didn't see any, but when I was cowboy camping in town, I was injured with shin splints waiting for them to catch up. I was sleeping in town next to this building down the street from a bar, and I hear the cars, everything going into the bar, and then all of a sudden I hear the back door of the bar open, and this guy started screaming, "Hey, get out of here!" And then about a minute later, from behind the building I'm sleeping at, I hear this just blood-curdling scream. And of course, me doing the research that I've done before on the mountain lions, cougars, whatever you want to call them out there, I knew exactly what the hell it was. And sitting there, having a tent, I don't know why, thin piece of fabric, you feel safe out in the woods. Sleeping in your sleeping bag, just laying on the ground, knowing one of those things is prowling around you, Oh, that'll scare you. I stayed awake for quite a while that night.
You're like on a serving tray, just like crossing your fingers that he wasn't. What did you say about the fence, though? You didn't talk about the fence.
Oh yeah, I was sleeping by this fence, and you can clearly tell that something jumps over the fence because it's bent all the way along the top. The fence is bent a certain way from something just repeatedly jumping over it. So I was like basically sleeping right where this cat like kind of prowls in his walking area for the night.
And we did have some friends, Captain Awesome and White Claw, that were stalked by a mountain lion.
Stalked them for about a mile.
Washington, I think?
Yeah.
I think it was Washington. And that kind of freaked him out. But thankfully they were okay, and it, I guess, decided it didn't want them for dinner, which was really good. But yeah, no grizzly bears. That was a big fear of mine when we knew that we were going to go out on this. I thought that I would have to be, I don't know. So I was really scared about grizzly bears. But.
Oh yeah, we've had nightmares about grizzlies and rattlesnakes. Tons of those though. We did see and get rattled at quite a few by rattlesnakes.
We did, well, yeah, the rattlesnakes.
These chairs suck.
They're spinny too, so it's kind of distracting. Well, is there anyone watching? How many people are watching?
It's been like 3 to 5 people.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We got another one. North London runner asked, "What was the toughest challenge, and how did we overcome it?"
Tough questions, people. They're tough.
They are.
Well, I mean, it's like, does she want to know the trail or this year? Because this year, I would say COVID.
Yeah.
I would say COVID. I would say Instagram, or like just online social haters towards hikers.
Got a lot of hate in the beginning for being out there. People saying that we were going to be super spreaders and taking the disease to other towns, and
yeah, that was crazy. That was the toughest, like, mental, mental challenge.
And basically, normally you have a huge community that's helping you do this trail. You're not just doing it alone. And this year, that community was a lot smaller than normal. I mean, you still had a few angels out there that were, helping the hikers, kind of bringing their boxes to them, bringing them food so that they didn't have to go into town and, expose anyone to whatever they might be carrying.
Yeah, they were creative.
Even though we were mostly quarantined out there by ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of hikers this year was so small compared to normal years.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was... with COVID, it definitely made it more difficult. I mean, waiting outside of grocery stores in lines, wondering if, the local restaurants even open because everyone was changing for COVID hours because they had no help in the restaurants.
And I guess we should mention that we started March 11th. When we decided to start this adventure and everything, we had no idea that,
we knew COVID was a thing. We just didn't know it was going to blow up to... We knew
that it was in China, and we knew that people in Washington State were starting to get it. But at that point, we had already booked our tickets. We were literally packed, ready to go, and we hiked our first week to Julian, California, and found out that, like you said, restaurants were closed. And then we had to decide, like, do we stay on trail or do we travel, to the big busy cities, get on the airplane, and travel home to our families that could, potentially get sick. So. We thought just being in the woods seemed like the safest thing to do. We were so isolated as it was. So, yeah, but that's part of it. Do you have any other questions?
Jason Hikes and Stuff asks, favorite gear item under $100? So, most of the favorite gear is going to be under $100. I don't really care too much about the backpack.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to hurt anyways on the shoulders or the hips at one point or another on the trip.
A nice sleeping bag or quilt is nice, but...
Definitely not under $100.
No, but it's also, it is essential, but...
So most of your stuff that's going to be great is going to be under about $50.
I think there's all of the stuff we have is $50.
Most of it. My rain skirt, which is my favorite piece of gear, is probably about $60. Packs down pretty small. Nothing fancy about it, but it comes in super handy. Not just for when it's raining, but for after the rain, for morning dew, depending on what areas you're in. See, that's special. Couple holes in it from campfire.
Z-Packs, $35, I think.
It's like 60.
60?
Yeah, it's like 50, 60. But anyway, when you're walking through all the grass and all the overgrown brush in the morning, your legs get soaked, your pants get soaked, your shoes and socks. It's just really uncomfortable. So that helps out, especially after the rain. Everybody else is walking around soaked to the bone, and you're nice and dry. When you're in town doing laundry, a nice little skirt so you can wash your pants, underwear, everything else.
Yeah. I should have one, but I don't.
Yeah. So that's my favorite piece of gear.
Mine would probably be, sorry, we have like this lineup of our favorite gear items. Would be my Luminade. If anybody knows what this is, it is an inflatable solar lantern. That's pretty cool. I heard about it on Shark Tank, and I'm a huge sucker for Shark Tank products, so I thought, why not have a solar lantern? And to the ultralighters out there, they probably would think this is ridiculous because your phone, I mean, some ultralighters don't even carry a headlamp because they have their phone, so, but this is basically our solar lantern. It's great because we hang it in our tent, and especially sharing a tent together, it's kind of like it's our light in our house. It's our kitchen light, our cooking light, our, staying up and watching a movie or book, I don't know, anything light. It's also great because we hang it outside on a tree if we're hanging out with friends, and kind of, if the campfire, if we're not doing a campfire or something, it gives us a light to gather around. But it's waterproof, and I really missed it. We sent it home kind of like halfway through, and I missed it for the last couple months on trail because I wanted to see, I don't know, we were hiking later and the sun was setting sooner, and...
Okay, anyways.
Anyway, they make a new one now that charges your phone, and that one seems really cool, but I have yet to upgrade it. But the customer service was great because when it came back from the AT, it broke, and they replaced it, and this is the new one. And it lasted the whole PCT. Well, almost all of it. I'll shut up.
So yeah, that was her favorite gear. And then most of the people that we meet, when they check out our gear, they kind of like the pot.
We get a lot of,
that was probably $30-40, but yeah, cook pot kind of. Do we have a low battery?
Can people see?
No, it might, hold it up a little, I'd say. But you're good.
Cook pot.
Collapsible.
Silicone. As long as you don't put the flame on the outside, you're fine.
And it's what, 4 cups?
Yeah, a little bit more than 4 cups, so we can make meals for both of us in it.
Yep. Sea to Summit. Love that pot.
So a couple nice pieces of gear. And then of course you got your super cheap stuff like your $10 stove from Amazon.
Because who needs a jet boil?
Yeah, $100 for a jet boil. $10 stove. It's worked for 2 through hikes. What, 5,000, 6,000 miles already?
It's good. Can't complain.
Nope.
It's not the most light. I mean, I've seen little tiny. What's the one that Tramp had? So there's like an MSR pocket rocket or something, and it's like, dink, that's it. Doesn't have a starter, but.
Oh, we brought the bear box to show you. While you're in the Sierras, you got to carry this, and that takes up most of your backpack space.
Yep.
But yeah, that we were only able to fit probably 7 or 8 days worth of food, and we had to carry like 9 or 10.
Yeah. We both had bear cans.
So we had that one and a little one. Needless to say, we still couldn't fit everything, so our pockets were full of food every day. Had to eat quite a bit in the beginning.
Yep, I had an extra bag on the outside of my backpack that was just food.
Full of food. I think we're down to a couple of our last questions. Monica asked, what sections do we recommend to section hike other than Goat Rocks? Well, Goat Rocks is
beautiful.
It's a gorgeous spot. It's just like a ridge, well, like one ridge. So it's only a few miles of, prettiness.
Oh, Goat Rocks Wilderness was probably.
Yeah.
It was pretty big. You're thinking of the main. Yeah.
The main view.
But yeah, that was in Washington. I would say like Oregon. If you've never seen Crater Lake is pretty cool. It's pretty popular though, so it's kind of like I don't really like to recommend the touristy spots.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Goat Rocks is. But other than Crater Lake, what else was in Oregon? That was cool.
I can't remember most of the trail. It was just a lot of trees.
It was a lot of lakes in Oregon. California, if you haven't seen the
Mount
desert.
Shasta area. Or, yeah, Mount Shasta area. That'd be a great place to go do some section hiking.
Yup.
But I mean, we got sick of seeing Shasta because we had to like walk around the damn thing before we actually started going north again.
Yeah.
So, but it was gorgeous when we first saw it for the first week.
Took a while to walk around that. Well, Oregon was all the volcanoes. That was the Three Sisters Wilderness that I loved.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Growing up in Michigan, volcanoes and stuff, like I knew about them. I heard about them. I didn't really think that they were real. I grew up and forgot that those things were even like out west. So for me to walk past volcanoes was just like, terrifying. Terrifying, but also so cool. Like I picked up all these rocks and I shared with you guys the obsidian I found, and I love Three Sisters Wilderness. So highly recommend that. And then if I was going to say, we got to do one for each state.
Okay.
So I would say as far as California, if you've never been to the actual desert or hiked there, I would recommend the desert. The first like 600 miles, anywhere in there, Joshua Trees, the Los Angeles Aqueduct, like, yeah, it's walking on a pipe. It's not really, I don't know, they're like the milestones of a thru hike, but kind of give you that little fun taste of the popular parts if you're just section hiking. But yeah, the Joshua Trees and the sunsets and stuff in the desert were just beautiful. It was really, really cool.
But the Joshua Trees don't provide much shade.
No.
Just so you know, it's hot out there.
Yeah, make sure
Bring an umbrella.
Yes, bring an umbrella.
That was one thing that I would have loved to have that's under 100 is an umbrella.
Yeah, that is for sure. Even at the end of the trip, when
it
was raining.
When it was raining and when it was, umbrella would have been nice.
But not all the time. I definitely would have been upset if I carried it the whole way.
I would have been fine.
Yeah. I feel like we had like 4 months of no rain whatsoever. But
yeah, it was great. You just set up the tent, no rain fly, just no worries.
California, it really is sunny all the time.
Yeah. Besides the first month or week that we were there.
Yeah, the first week was snowy.
I think that's one more. What was the best? Did we pass that one?
Yeah.
Oh, the best and worst? Well,
no, we didn't.
I guess it's kind of like the other one. Well, I don't know if we actually finished that. Did we say the best?
I don't know.
We said COVID was kind of crappy, but what else did we say?
Well, what section of the trail would we say is the worst?
Section of trail? I don't know.
I'd have to say just trying to get through the northern part of California. I mean, you're in California for...
Like Tahoe and stuff?
Tahoe, yeah, the tourists. There you go. The worst part of the trail
was the tourists.
The tourist parts.
But, I mean, this year...
I mean, you got people that when you're walking uphill with 30 pounds on your back and they don't have anything but a bottle of water making you get off trail, you get a little upset. And the fact that there's 100 of them and none of them know etiquette and there's toilet paper all over the trail because they just don't understand to go off trail and bury their stuff. But, yeah, the tourists were the worst part.
But, I mean, the JMT was empty. Like,
that was the best part.
Yeah.
The fact that COVID was here.
The COVID was the worst and the best. Because we did get to hike the whole JMT with only seeing, I don't know,
a couple hikers.
2, 3, like I could, on my name on one hand, how many hikers we saw when we thru-hiked the JMT. And that's like unheard of.
There were other thru-hikers that we saw that were out there, but as for day hikers, section hikers that were doing that part, no one.
We had friends that hiked the extra into Yosemite and got to see, what's the famous? Half Dome. They went to Half Dome and there was nobody to block their view. They were just there alone, just thru-hikers. So it was crazy. It was a blessing and a curse at the same time. But, I don't know, it kind of made the trip unique. And it was something that we weren't planning for. I mean, we ran into a lot of other hikers that either went home once they found out about COVID, they listened to what the PCTA said and stuff, and then came back, or people that, quarantined at home until April and then went to trail. And there were only kind of a handful of us that kind of stuck together as being like the early marchers that didn't really know what was going on, and then we found ourselves in this situation while we were in the middle of our hike.
So the PCTA is the Pacific Crest Trail Association.
Yes.
You apply for your permit through them. They can't take your permit away, but they did ask everyone to get off trail in the beginning of the whole COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
They were just kind of following suit with the governors and whatnot of the states, asking people to stay home. But they've decided this year that anyone who did through hike, they're not going to acknowledge the fact that we finished. They also give out certificates and kind of keep record of who finished the trail.
You can go online and see, like for the Appalachian Trail, you can see any name of any person that's ever hiked it. You can look it up and it's documented, like you said.
But this year they're not doing it for us. So technically, you know, we're not through hikers in the books. So that kind of sucks if we wanted to try to get our Triple Crown, which is doing the Appalachian, the Pacific Crest, and the Continental Divide trails.
Yeah.
So might not even try for the Continental Divide anyways, but still, it kind of sucks that they're not recognizing the fact that we did, you know, through hike.
Yeah.
Everybody else gets a medal and a certificate, and we don't get anything. Oh well.
Yeah, it's not why we do it, but it's kind of, I don't know.
It's nice to see your name in a book with everyone else that's completed it, you know.
Especially
you know
not
that it was such a hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
I think that's about everything that we have for questions.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know if anybody's noticed my nice sweatshirt. This is Stay Outdoors. They're actually a clothing company that reached out to us on Instagram in the middle of our thru hike.
Now, they started because of the pandemic.
Yeah,
they wanted to get people outdoors. So
they basically started a clothing company and said, "Hey, if we send you a couple shirts, could you do some cool photos for us and kind of just share, you know, what you think about the quality of the products?" And I will tell you that this sweatshirt has been through it all. I got it this summer, and I was just planning on having it be like my extra town shirt, and you know, through hiking and stuff. It wasn't necessarily it's a nice sweatshirt. It's a comfy sweatshirt, but
it's not super light. But when you get in town and you're tired of wearing all the spandex and polyester and all that, it's nice to put on some cotton.
I think it's only been washed 3 times because of the fact that if anybody knows when you get a sweatshirt how soft it is. Oh, it's so nice. So I've washed it a couple times since then simply because it was hiker dirty. But I absolutely love it. I know it's that time of year where everybody is kind of layering up. So if you're interested, I'll put their info down below. They have way more than just this. They also release waterproof hats, sun shirts recently. Their hats are really cool. But yeah, I'll put them down below if you're interested in getting some cool gear. But do we have any other questions or?
No, I think
that's pretty good.
Cool.
We might have more info on the whole hiking Michigan thing soon. Like I said, still an idea to throw around. If we do that, we'll probably be doing some YouTube videos, so there'll be a bit more content on our pages.
Yeah, we do have a YouTube channel. We just, I kind of tinkered with it years ago. We've both mostly been on Instagram, Facebook for family and friends and stuff. But
I don't really do too much of the videos or whatnot, so I guess I got to kind of do my part. So depending on how this trail goes, it might be me doing the 4,200 miles.
I think it was like 46.
4,600
It's so
miles.
much.
So it might be just me and her working and me doing all the videos and her making fun of me for it. Or it could be both of us. We'll see how things go.
That's just crazy to me because so far we've had 5,000 miles together and now you just want to go out and do 46 in 1 year.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm kind of excited.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
And,
hope you have a good day. Hope you're staying safe. And
keep
until next
following
time.
us.
Bye.
Bye.